Did you miss us? Welcome back to the Boardman Black and Gold podcast. It's been a while.
It has, but we're back.
We're back, and a lot of things have happened.
A lot. Right, it's a great season to be a Pittsburgh fan just in general right now.
Which is funny because I think maybe a month ago when we had the last conversation, we were just in shambles. We're thinking, oh no, the Steelers are bad.
Yeah.
The Penguins are worse. And the Pirates
are going to be usual.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But now,
the Pirates off to the best start since like the 90s.
Yeah, since 1992. They lost today, which sucks, but they're 9-3 to start the season.
Yeah.
The Penguins have single-handedly been carried by Sidney Crosby and are somehow trying to make the playoffs.
I mean, I'll take it.
Yeah.
I hope so. And then obviously the Steelers have had probably the most active offseason they may have ever had.
And it's like been very good. It's not just been active.
Oh, yeah.
It's not been active just for activity's sake. It's been like a good offseason, at least in our opinions, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that basically every move, player-wise, I'm just like, wow, this is great. Like, I love this.
Yeah, 100%. So where do you want to start? We have a lot of options to start with. What do you want to start with?
I'd say we could probably start the obvious, the quarterback position. I mean, we literally did what I don't think anyone thought we were going to do. Like, I think it was, oh yeah, we're either going to get Russell or we're either going to get Justin Fields. And so I remember like we got Russell and I was like, okay, perfect. Like that's great. We made a decision. I'm pretty excited about that. We'll have him for a couple years or something. And then I don't even know how many days later it was that we traded for Justin Fields. And I was like, what? Like, no way. This isn't the Steelers. Like, to do both of those things, that's too smart.
Right, because it didn't, I guess, like, once we got Russell Wilson, we were pretty intent, like, okay, like, this is our quarterback now. Like, we're okay with that. You know, whatever it has to do with Kenny, you know, they'll figure it out. I'm sure they'll figure it out. At least that's what I was thinking. But then they go out and they traded Kenny.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, so we're really doing this now. And then a couple days later, Justin Fields. And it's like the complete overhaul of the quarterback room. There is not a single quarterback on the roster from last year that is on the roster this year.
And I love it, honestly, except for probably, well, actually, no, I do love it because I would have said except for Mason Rudolph, but I'm happy that he may get an opportunity in Tennessee just because of their room. Mm-hmm. And I wish nothing but the best for him. And I mean, it's not even just like a lot of people that aren't Steelers fans are telling me like, you guys are crazy. Like Russell Wilson's old and Justin Fields is just athletic. Like neither of them really like have it together, but let's just look at like how great of a move both of these were. Mm-hmm. Like Russell Wilson, we got cheaper than it was to pay Kenny Pickett.
Oh my goodness. And
we have Justin Fields for a 6th round pick that could turn into a 4th, but most likely won't.
Right. The stipulation is that he plays 51% of the snaps this season, which I don't see happening if Russ doesn't get hurt.
Right. And if Mike Tomlin is Mike Tomlin, he always plays the older guys. Like, you look at how Kenny started. Mitch started like 2.5, like 3 games.
No, it was 3. It was... Yeah, well, it was into the 4th game because it was week 4.
Yeah, so 3 full games and 4 starts.
Right.
So, you know, he's always done that where you could draft a new guy, but that old guy, even with Broderick Jones and any other rookie, it's like the older guy gets the start. So I think that it's basically guaranteed to be a 6th round pick unless Russell plays horrible or gets hurt.
Right, which could happen.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, it's like, okay, now you see what Justin Fields can do.
Right.
The thing that I'm so happy about with the Russ deal is that, like you said, it's cheaper than we're paying Kenny Pickett. $1.2 million. Like, I don't know why anybody wouldn't want to have jumped on that. I mean, he literally just said he would sign for the league minimum. I mean, Denver's paying him how much? Like, it's a copious amount of money that Denver's paying him this coming year. And, you know, now the Steelers don't have to pay him any of that, and he gets the veteran minimum, which is $1.2 million, and he can just go out and do his thing. And it seems like he's excited to be a Steeler, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah, and it looks like he wants to win. Like, and he said that before he left Denver, was like he was like, I still want to win like 2 more rings. So it's like, all right, like please get over here. I don't know what Kenny wants to do, but he can't do anything. So I love the mentality he's bringing. And I think that like he's gonna bring some energy that we need. Like Kenny never looked like he really had energy or could hype people up. You know, I know a lot of people make fun of Russell Wilson and like make a lot of jokes about him, but I think that he can hype people up, and that'll be exciting to see. Hopefully, he just has that mentality.
I hope so too. And again, it's a guy that has won before.
Yeah, we know he's better than Kenny.
Right.
Like we know that.
Surely. I mean, it's pretty hard to be any worse. And I mean, he's won a Super Bowl. He won the Super Bowl like several years ago and almost won 2. So he knows how to win.
He does.
Which is something that I don't know if we've really had recently, is just players who know how to win.
And I think honestly that is Mike Tomlin's like key. You know, to have a solid defense, which it looks like we're going to have with some new additions we'll talk about. And then to let a veteran quarterback do their thing. You look at like our best seasons with Mike Tomlin, Ben's just, you know, flinging the ball around, like doing whatever, making his own crazy plays. And like Tomlin's just kind of letting him do his offense and get the job done. So I love it. I don't think that Tomlin's really built for a young QB having to develop him. I think Tomlin's built for like having a veteran QB who knows what he's doing and saying, all right, here's your offense, take it.
Right.
And so hopefully we can get a repeat of what happened with Ben.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, we Tomlin hasn't been used to anything but Ben.
Yeah.
You know, and the years that he didn't have Ben for long periods of time were the ones that they were the closest to having a losing season. I mean, the mediocrity, the 8-8 year or whatever that was, and it was 9-8 or so. Yeah, it was an 8-8 year when they were shuffling through quarterbacks, Duck Hodges, and all that type of stuff. So, like you said, I mean, Ben was a veteran for a long time. He won young, so he knew how. Like they knew that he was able to win, and then from there, they knew it's like, okay, Ben knows how to win. Let's build everything around a guy who knows how to win. Now you got Russell Wilson who knows how to win, and you just build around that, and you see what happens.
Right, and I think that, you know, I think people are also still forgetting. He's just gonna have to be able to make like big plays every now and again, like you saw Mason doing. Like when you look at the 3 games, like everybody's like Mason Rudolph played great. Mason Rudolph did play great, but he was heavily carried by a running back tandem of Jalen Warren and Najee Harris, absolutely just running through defenses. And now we've added Cordarrelle Patterson to that.
Yeah.
And I think that like people are forgetting that our run game is kind of what led us those last 3 games, and Mason did make splash plays. So I think if we've got Russell like making splash plays consistently, and then we've got these 2 guys in the backfield, like that's where Russell likes to be, with a good run game, and so he can just make a big play when he needs to.
Absolutely. So then, like, let's talk about Cordarrelle Patterson. He's probably the best kick returner since Devin Hester, right?
I'd have to agree. I don't think there's anyone else that compares.
And I think I saw a comparison of the 2 of them, and I think Patterson's like splash plays has been like better even than Hester's. Which is, if Hester is like the did he make it into the Hall of Fame this year?
I want to say yes. I know that like he almost did last year. I feel like he had to have gotten in this year.
I think so too. I can't remember that 100%, but I think he did. But it's like now you've got Cordarrelle Patterson, and the kickoff rules are different.
Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh. We were actually, just before we started this, like looking through the kickoff rules because we aren't fully understanding what they mean.
Why don't you pull it up and kind of explain it to us as best as you can? Because like I think you were telling me that it's a lot kind of like the XFL.
Yeah, they want to endorse more kick returns and more like big plays, which to me, I'm not. Me and the upper leadership of the NFL just do not agree on like anything. But the rules are that the kicker will kick from the 35-yard line as usual, but the other 10 players in the kicking team will be on the receiving team's 40-yard line. And then either 9 or 10 members of the return team will be at their own 35 or 30-yard line. And they call that like the setup zone. And so basically these guys are just standing 10 yards or 5 yards apart, just waiting. And then the ball will most likely drop between the 20-yard line and the goal line, and that's what they call the landing zone, where there will be 1 or 2 returners waiting. And so if the ball lands in that zone or in the end zone, I believe, it's a touchback, and the ball will be put at the 30-yard line instead of the 25. And then no one but the kicker or returner can move the ball until it is caught or hits the ground. And once the ball is caught or hits the ground, then the players that are just standing there can move. Mm-hmm. And that's basically the new setup, I believe, to like the best of my knowledge. And to me, I'm not a fan of it at all.
No.
Why? If it ain't broke, don't fix it, in my opinion.
Well, it's like, why are we trying to promote kickoffs?
Who cares?
Like, I want to see a 75-yard drive. Like, that's what I come to watch football for. I don't come to watch kickoffs. I mean, that's the thing. Like, Hester was incredible because he was good at that type of stuff. Patterson's good at that stuff, which, again, Omar Khan is not staying put and allowing the league around him to evolve. He's going out and getting the best kick returner so that he can take advantage of these new rules, whatever they are. And maybe that might be one of the keys to some good offensive pressure from the Steelers this season is, man, you know, Patterson's running it back 30, 40 yards every time. And that's, hey.
Oh, yeah.
If we get good field position, which we didn't have a lot of last year.
No.
I mean, on occasion we did, but we didn't really take advantage of it. But now with the new look offense, if you have good field position, they have no reason not to be scoring points.
Right. And now, even though I don't agree with this rule and I can't stand this change, but it may help us. Starting at the 30-yard line, you only have 70 yards. You only have probably, like 35, 40 yards to get into field goal range. That's all you need, like every drive. I can't stand it, but that could help us a lot.
Right, and you got Boz who's automatic from, 50. Even 50.
Yeah,
exactly.
And so I think that as much as I can't stand that change, that definitely goes in our favor. And Cordarrelle Patterson, like Devin Hester was a returner, and he was just a returner. But Cordarrelle Patterson, like he's like an older Deebo Samuel. Like you could throw him anywhere, and that's something that I think we want to do. Like we've seen us try to kind of do that with Connor Hayward and move him around in different positions, like fullback or like the pulling position. So I'd love if we used him and just in every position we can.
Yeah, absolutely. Why not? I mean, just shift things around and see what he can do.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of that signing simply because of the whole kickoff rule, and I guarantee you, it was Omar Khan's response to the kickoff rule that he's like, all right, I want him. And then the other thing too, you got to think like Arthur Smith. I mean, he's now reunited with Arthur Smith. So
Arthur Smith knows how to use him well.
Right. Which again, it's you play to what you know you can do. And again, we weren't the biggest fans of Arthur Smith originally, but I think what they're doing is they're kind of conforming things to where it makes sense to where Smith can be at least somewhat familiar with these guys so that he can put them in positions to win. And that's all I said last season. Just put your guys in a position to win. And it seems like they're starting to do that this season, at least in the offseason.
Yeah, and I think that we're starting to build some balance where, like, last year it was like, all right, the defense has to win the game, period, end of story. But now it's like, it might be a little bit of give and take, and it might be like one side's helping out the other side and going back and forth. And yeah, I was very negative on Arthur Smith when he came in, but kind of looking at it now, like he's got a ton of weapons. Like, let's not forget that the Titans in 2020 were the 1 seed, and I don't know if Derrick Henry played that full season. I can't remember. I think he played most, but still, we have 2 great running backs, well, now 3 great running backs that could kind of fill that void. And we have George Pickens, and he had A.J. Brown. So I'm getting hope. It's building hope.
Yeah. So, and I think it's probably a good time to talk about the wide receiver room. So obviously, one of the bigger deals that happened in that first week of free agency was we traded Deontay Johnson.
Yes.
And I don't know about you. Okay, here's the other caveat. I love the Panthers. The Panthers are my second team. I live in North Carolina now, so I've kind of developed an affinity for the Panthers. So I like seeing him go to a team that I at least like, and I think he'll be very good for them because the Panthers receivers just didn't have any separation last season.
Yeah.
And Bryce Young just needs somebody to be open.
Right.
So I think he could be very good for Bryce Young. Now, we talked about like, man, we got to trade him. We got to get rid of him. And now he's gone. Yeah. And I kind of felt a little sentimental. I was like, man, He's
Really?
gone. Yeah, I did. I mean, I
Yeah.
did. What did you think?
I was like, good riddance. Like, I was like, good, get your attitude out of here. I don't need it. I don't want it. George Pickens is better. Like, your time's done. We'll see you later.
Wow.
I just, and tired of seeing him run backwards, tired of seeing him dropping the ball. It's like, all right, you don't want to be here. You act like you don't want to be here. You're not a team player. Then
go to Carolina.
Don't be on our team. Like I was overjoyed, and we got a cornerback out of the trade. So I was like, that's a win-win for me.
Okay, fair enough. I saw a tweet too. It was like Deontay Johnson's flight has left for Carolina. It showed it like going up towards New York first, and then we're gonna go back down there. So
my dad sent me that. He was like, he's got to go backwards first.
Oh man, that's so funny. But at the same time, so again, it's Deontay Johnson. I mean, he's not a top 10 receiver,
right?
But he's still a good receiver.
He is.
And now the receiving room is a little thin. Obviously, we got George Pickens, and now he's the number one, which is kind of what we were looking for. We're like, all right, please be the number one. He seemed to be underutilized, and now he's the guy.
Yeah.
But now, where's the depth afterwards? We got Cordell Patterson, who can be used in some situations like that.
Right.
They got Quez Watkins from the Philly. From the Eagles.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's a wide receiver 3-4 type of guy.
Right.
Really just a depth piece. And they lost Allen Robinson too. They cut him, which I don't know if I liked that a whole lot. Obviously, he wasn't a huge key piece to last year, but I feel like he was a pretty just reliable guy to have in the wide receiver 3-4 type of category.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And yeah, Quez Watkins, I think he's a number 3 or number 4. And then we also signed Van Jefferson, who I don't know how I feel about. He's been quiet. I feel like, honestly, he might just be a younger Allen Robinson. So he might at least have some stability. But then we still have Calvin Austin III. Right. And I'm really excited because the whole season, I was like, can we give him more playing time? Can he play more? Like, why? Like, we threw that one deep ball to him when we played the Raiders and he scored. And the next week we did it again and it was an interception. So it was like, okay, we're never doing that again. And it's like, why? He's the fastest guy on the field. So hopefully he'll get more playing time. But yeah, it's a little thin. I think we need just one more guy.
And then the thing they can do is they can address that in the draft.
Right.
They love drafting their second-round wide receivers. They're notorious for that, and they always seem to connect on those, which is good. So that's something that you can look forward to. I think we'll have a completely separate episode for some pre-draft things.
Oh, definitely.
We can talk about that because there's enough to talk about in free agency already, but we'll talk about maybe some things that they can address, in the draft. Wide receiver probably being one of the top priorities, I think, at this point.
Yeah, I think, top priorities, wide receiver, still O-line, of course, and then cornerbacks. But yeah.
But they did go and the Dante Jackson was the guy that they got from Carolina. Yeah. He really didn't have a great year, but it seems like he's one of those guys that's just, he's a depth piece. They're not going to be relying on him completely, which again is another thing that we'll have to address in the draft is probably getting a corner.
Right. Yeah, which I hope we do. And it'll be nice. I think Joey Porter Jr., I think honestly he's set up for a standout second season because this first season it had some hiccups, but was great. Unfortunately, I think that Levi Wallace is still the number 2. But then we have like guys like DeMonte Casey and there's one other guy I might be forgetting. But I think if we draft another young guy, I think that we could be doing okay in the secondary. And the free agent we signed, Deshaun Elliott.
Yeah,
right.
He's a safety.
Yeah, safety from Miami, and he's been talking a lot and just love his mentality. And I think he can counter Minka. Like really, when Minka's back there, it's like you kind of just have to do your job, and it'll be enough. Right. So hopefully he'll be able to do just that, maybe more. Who knows?
Well, his first press conference I loved. Because they asked him, why do you want to be a Pittsburgh Steeler? And he looked behind him and he pointed to the logo that was on, the board behind him. He says, I want to play for that logo. This logo means a lot to me. And we were talking about that in our last episode. It's like, how many times have people come to Pittsburgh and they want to play for Pittsburgh.
Right.
And this is one of those times. It's like this. He didn't say he wanted to play for Mike Tomlin. He said he wanted to play for the Steelers logo, which I absolutely love that. And that's the mentality we've been looking for so long.
Right. And that's exactly the mentality that like Minka was talking about, where he was like, people are coming here just thinking they can wear the black and gold and not earn it. It's like the way Deshaun Elliott's talking about it, like he wants to earn it. He respects it. And that's what we need. Like, I think the black and gold has been losing a little bit of respect. And it's like, it's time to get that back, I think.
He hasn't played a snap in the black and gold, and he already respects it more than most of the players do already.
Exactly. And the last time we got a safety from Miami, it was Minka.
Yep,
so hopefully
exactly.
we can repeat what happened.
Yeah, I hope so. That would be awesome. Okay, so now let's keep moving on to the defense, because there's some big stuff on the defense.
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about Patrick Queen.
Oh, my gosh.
He is the ultimate traitor to Baltimore.
I love
signing
it.
with the Steelers for 3 years, and he's still young. He's not old by any means. He's a young guy. He's a promising guy, and I mean, he really just threw the Ravens under the bus by signing with the Steelers.
And I love it. I mean, he had the best year for them, and I again, it's another thing where I'm like, no way. Like, that's too smart.
Right.
That's too good. And I love it. I love it when we can take a rival player that's amazing and just use it against them. And I hope, and he is hopefully that middle guy that can really center this defense. And I think that he can do it. And I loved, there was a story, I think it was in his rookie year, the first time they played, Mike Tomlin was like yelling over at him, and he was like, "You're on the wrong side.
You're not
like,
a Raven.
You're not a Raven." And it like apparently ticked Patrick Queen off at first, but now he's a Steeler, and
Comes
Tomlin was
full circle.
right, and I love it. I love it.
Yeah, and the thing is too, like, his Ravens teammates are fed up with him. Like, they are upset with him.
Yeah.
And he's just soaking it all in. He loves it. Like, I followed him on Twitter. I don't follow a lot of like professional athletes on Twitter, but he was one of those guys that I'm like, I'm just going to follow him and see what happens. And he gets trashed by his teammates. He gets trashed by Ravens fans.
Oh, man.
And he's just soaking it all up. He just says, come on, bring it on.
Yeah,
Bring it on.
Keep fueling him.
I
Keep
know.
giving him fire.
Exactly. And I love it. Even Lamar Jackson got involved on Twitter,
I
too.
saw that. And I just love it. And like, let's not forget, beginning of the year to middle of the year, Cole Holcomb and Quan Alexander were playing really decent in the middle. So to add like a key piece to them, where it's like they'll just have to play like, you know, they won't have to be the leader. He can lead and they can like support. Like, I think our middle is going to be looking better than it has since Ryan Shazier was there. And like, it's been a while since we've had a good middle of the field on defense.
Absolutely. And I saw today, actually, I think Quan Alexander like put on his cleats for the first time since his injury.
Yeah.
Which, if they can get him back, if they can get him inserted back into the things, I mean, the linebacking core, it looked nice and depth heavy last year. And then the injury bug just came in, and they couldn't keep up with the injuries, which it was a bunch of freak injuries. They really couldn't do anything about it. But now it's like you get Patrick Queen involved, you try to get these guys healthy again, and you're back to where you were, and you just hope that they don't get hurt. And from there, I mean, they were playing probably the best football of their careers in those couple weeks where they were all healthy. I mean, the triangle of the three of them was excellent in those couple first weeks.
Oh, it was so awesome to see. So hopefully, I mean, we can recreate that, but like times 2 because of Patrick Queen. And I just love, we've also made some additions to our D line. I think 2 additions, Dean Lowry and Braden Kofo or something.
Okay.
He was early, but still getting depth. You know, our D line already looks solid when everyone's healthy. So I love adding depth, and I think our defense looks better than it has in a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. Now that you have a competent offense, so it would seem, the defense will just play on that. I mean, we talked about it so much last year. The defense just looks tired because the offense goes 3 and out. They can't put together any long drives. They feel like they have to make the splash plays. I mean, if you take away some of the splash plays in those like mid to early season games last year, they don't even sniff the playoffs.
No, we start like 1-6 or 1-7 if the defense doesn't carry us.
Exactly.
Like, I remember we talked about that like mid-season. We were like, if our defense didn't make these plays, we've only got one win.
Right.
And I think that's gonna be different this year. And like I think our defense isn't gonna save the day anymore. I think it's gonna add insult to injury in these future games, because I think the defense will still be how it's always been, making those splash plays, but they won't necessarily need to.
Right.
And so it'll just cushion whatever lead or win we have.
Right. It'll just bury the other team
Exactly.
to where it's like, okay, you know, you just gave up a long drive, Russell Wilson to George Pickens. It's like, all right, we got to get back in the game. Oh, it's picked off. They're going back the other way.
Yeah.
They get points off of turnovers, and they just find a way to bury you. I mean, when's the last time we've had a comfortable win? It just doesn't happen with the Steelers. And this is the time where you can maybe get some comfortable wins and maybe help our hearts a little bit. Maybe we'll live 10 years longer because of this season, as opposed to these last couple of years where every single win's a nail biter.
Right. We need to blow some teams out. Like, it's been a long time. It's like, let's get that feeling back and understand what it is and just go and blow someone out.
Absolutely. And I guess the other thing too, so even a couple things to talk about on special teams. We re-signed Miles Killebrew to a 2-year deal.
Yeah.
He's been a Pro Bowler. I mean, that's huge. And especially on kickoffs, like, if this kickoff rule is new, you want to have some Pro Bowlers on your special teams unit. And that's an important thing. He's been a really solid guy. Had some huge special teams plays even last year. So again, you get him back. And then they also went out and we talked about Presley Harvin being gone.
Praise
Thank
the
goodness.
Lord.
Yeah, thank goodness. And they go out and they get Cameron Johnson. They sign him to a 3-year deal. Used to be the punter for the Texans. He was with Houston. And he seems like just this pretty decent punter. And at this point, there really isn't, we don't need the best punter ever. We just need a half decent one.
Consistency.
Presley, yes, exactly. Consistently decent punter.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be, Townsend from, the Chiefs or Bojorquez from the Browns. Like, just needs to be okay. Because frankly, Presley Harvin was just bad.
He was bad. Yeah, if you're not consistent, you're bad. And he was the exact opposite of consistent. So it's nice to get another punter. I think that, like, again, just making all the right moves, with other people we've dropped this year. And I mean, it's crazy to think so much has happened. We haven't even really talked about Justin Fields or Kenny Pickett and everything that's happened there.
Because that's all just this whole dramatic thing. Now, I'm going to read a tweet because I think it's pertinent to read. I saw this, I can't remember, it was last night or 2 nights ago. So it's pretty much the exclusive look at the details regarding the Russell Wilson signing and Kenny Pickett's response. So I'm just going to read this tweet.
Yeah, I hadn't seen this.
Okay, so you're going to get to react to this for the first time. So I'm excited to see what you have for this.
Yeah.
Okay, so apparently the Giants were also involved in possibly signing Russell Wilson. So we kind of came in there and snatched it from them. So here's what happened. So it says the Steelers met with Russell Wilson the Friday before they ultimately signed him. He did not sign that day because he refused to sign unless he was guaranteed to be the starter. So he wanted to be the starter, was going to sign for league minimum.
That's fair.
Completely fair. The source says the same thing happened with the Giants. Obviously, they got Daniel Jones on a really awful contract. You're not gonna go out and sign Russell Wilson for $1.2 million and then have Daniel Jones sit the bench and be owed $40 million.
Right.
So Russell Wilson did not sign with the Giants because they refused to guarantee him the starting job. In the meantime, Mason Rudolph negotiated a contract to remain with the Steelers. But then he met with them that Saturday and pulled the rug out of them. The Steelers did this. They pulled the rug out of Mason Rudolph.
Really?
They pulled back on the deal. So then he's scrambling around. He's like, okay, I'm not going to be a Steeler, I guess. So then the next thing, when Russell Wilson wouldn't initially sign, the Steelers' plan was to have Pickett and Rudolph compete for the job. So they were willing to move on from Russell Wilson at this point.
Yeah.
Then it says, okay, Rudolph and Pickett had already made plans to start practicing together that Monday. So this all happened within a span of 4 days.
So you're saying Rudolph, or no, the Steelers backed out of Rudolph?
They backed out on Rudolph, but then when Russell Wilson didn't sign, they're like, okay, like we'll stick around with you for now. So Pickett and Rudolph were planning to practice together. Rudolph obviously was still a free agent, but they were going to practice together.
Yeah.
So then the next thing that happens Instead, Rudolph called Pickett that Sunday night and told him that the Steelers decided to go in a different direction. The deal was off the table. So Rudolph is gone at this point. So Pickett tried calling Mike Tomlin that Sunday night, but Mike Tomlin didn't answer. So the drama boils.
Oh, gosh.
Tomlin returned Pickett's call on Monday after the news came out that the Steelers were signing Russell Wilson.
Oh, no.
Tomlin told Pickett that Wilson was going to be the guaranteed starter and that there was never going to be a quarterback competition. And then at the end, Pickett was very unhappy with Tomlin and the Steelers and demanded a trade. This is how we got him to the Eagles at this point.
So really, that's like all Tomlin.
It is all Tomlin.
And I'm not surprised because how immature. Like, that's the only word I can think of it is immature. So first off, I mean, I get it. You know, Sunday is a day off. Maybe you just aren't on your phone. But you definitely call the guy before the big contract drops with Russell Wilson. Like, you call your quarterback. Like, what? You're treating him like he's not even on your team. Like, who treats your... what? As a coach, you just don't treat your players. He's your player.
Right.
Like that. And then you lie. You lie straight to his face saying that, oh, you're guaranteed the starter. Nothing's going to change. Every single thing you could do wrong as a coach by Mike Tomlin was done wrong. As usual, he just continues to show his inadequacy as a head coach and ability to handle situations.
And he was the one that wanted Kenny Pickett. Like, he went out and he was like, all right, this is my guy. And they went out and they spent a first-round pick on him.
Yeah.
And now where is he at? He's across the pond in Philly.
Well, what's the common denominator here? You look at like all this stuff. Like Troy Polamalu seemed like he was kind of forced to retire. Same thing with Hines Ward. They were old, but Bruce Arians ran out of town, who ended up winning a Super Bowl. Dick LeBeau ran out of town. He was a Hall of Fame defensive coordinator. Obviously won Super Bowls. A couple other coordinators I can't think of that were ran out of town. What's the common denominator? Mike Tomlin.
Yep.
And what's another common denominator? Lies. Tomlin has just straight up lied to these guys' face. And then the next day something happens and what do you expect? They're not going to be mad? Like, oh man, I think that people love Tomlin. And they're like, oh, I want to be with Tomlin, like Patrick Peterson. I want to come to Tomlin.
But wait until you get into the shoes of Kenny Pickett. And then it's like, okay, what happens when he pulls the rug out from underneath you? Same thing with Mason Rudolph, too. And now, Mason Rudolph went and scrambled, and now he's with Tennessee. And the whole scheme of this entire team is completely changed because of Tomlin.
Which I like the change.
I do, too.
But I don't like the pulling the rug. Don't promise people things if you're obviously wanting something different. Like, don't make empty promises. And even you pulled the rug out from Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph. He even pulled the rug out from Patrick Peterson because they released him and Patrick Peterson came for Tomlin.
Right.
And so I think that, oh man, I mean, it's just going to come back to bite us. He's going to get this horrible reputation of just not, I mean, everyone says he treats players well. It's like, yeah, I'm not really. Doesn't look like it.
It's a lot of drama at this point. It's so much drama.
And I used to think, Tomlin just kind of lets the drama happen. Like Big Ben was allowed to go on a podcast and say a bunch of stuff. Chase Claypool, Juju Smith-Schuster, Antonio Brown. He was just letting these guys do things. But now it's like, oh, he's not just letting guys do things. He is single-handedly creating team changing events. Like,
he's involved.
Yeah. He's creating all the drama. And it's just like, when are we going to wake up and be like, this is toxic? This is not good for a team.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, that's the thing now too, is Kenny's, he's not going to start in Philly.
No.
Jalen Hurts is their guy. I mean, he's their guy long term. I mean, what's he going to do in Philly? And I wouldn't even be surprised if they traded him to Philly because they knew that he wouldn't start. I think I saw something where the Saints made an offer for him and they didn't trade him to the Saints. They might have gotten a better deal from the Saints because he probably would have played with them.
Yeah.
But it's like they trade him to Philly and, he's not going to play in Philly.
Yeah.
And they moved up 22 draft slots this draft because of that trade.
Which is crazy.
They flipped their 4th round for the Eagles' 3rd round, which is 22 spots. They went from, I think, 120 to 98. So they got a top 100 pick out of it, and they moved up, which, I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, it's not a lot. I mean, they had to give up something, and I think they also got 2 2 7th-round picks next year, I think, too.
Yes,
Just
yeah.
kind of thrown on top of it. But, I mean, for that, and the production that Kenny gave us, that's really not a lot.
Kenny was like the worst quarterback in NFL history. Like he has a statistic that is the worst statistic in NFL history. So, I mean, yeah, I'll take anything. Anything's better than that.
Right. And especially in a very crucial draft when it comes to especially the future of this team. 22 spots, that might be important.
It really could. And I think that, I mean, I know I was nagging on Tomlin a lot, which is well-deserved. He handled that horribly, like he does most things. But also, Kenny didn't help himself either. You know, Kenny's got this huge ego of like, I need to be the starter. Like, you know, I'm the best. And I'm like, first off, I mean, with Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes, I don't like it, but I get that they have that ego. Because, I mean, obviously Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league right now.
Right.
So I get you have that ego. Like, that makes sense. Kenny, you're like the worst starting quarterback in the league right now. How do you have this ego? How do you go home? I mean, does your wife say you're the best quarterback ever? And like, when you're back at home, all she does is just pump you up? Who's pumping you up? Like, no one in Pittsburgh is like, well, Kenny's good. Like, how do you have this ego that you think you can get the starting job when you barely throw more touchdowns than picks?
He was holding on to people like you who were like, man, I just want to hold on to Kenny.
Yeah, I guess. Okay, I guess me. I have his jersey.
You do.
Oh man, what was I talking about? I cheered him on for a while.
There's video evidence of me having my hands in my face when they drafted Kenny Pickett. I was not happy when they drafted Kenny Pickett, but I was gonna give him a shot because it's worth to give him the shot. He didn't do much with his shot, and now look where we are. He's completely been moved on from.
Yeah, which thank goodness. I'm glad we're not stuck on him like we were. We've done that with other players where we just get stuck on these guys that just aren't good. Tomlin doesn't like to give up on guys he drafted, but he gave up on Kenny real quick, and I'm very thankful for that, to say the least.
And it's okay. Like, sometimes they don't work out.
Right.
Obviously, you don't want to use a first-round pick on it, but hey, you just got to nip it in the bud, and you gotta finish it while it's there. So that's kind of the thing, and it's okay. It's okay to cut it off. Cut it off while you still can.
Right.
So
yeah, I completely agree, and I'm glad that we're able to move on cheap, and we're definitely on to bigger and better.
I think so too. I mean, Steelers football, I'm getting a little excited for Steelers football.
They're giving me hope. And I think that last season, you know, we had all that hope from the preseason. But this is like, I mean, come on, how can you not have hope? This is a different team. This is a different offense.
Completely different.
I mean, the coaches are about the same, which, you know, of course makes me nervous.
But that's the litmus test. If the play on the field doesn't improve drastically,
oh my gosh,
then you have to attribute it to the coaching.
Well, and you sent me something that it's reported that Tomlin's most likely going to sign a contract in July, which, I mean, my opinions for Tomlin stays the same. I still want him out. I still like, please just retire. You've done enough. Go home, or go somewhere else.
Or win us a Super Bowl.
That too. I'm totally fine with that. If Tomlin can win us a Super Bowl, like, I will swallow my ego and of like, oh, Tomlin needs to go. And if he wins us a Super Bowl,
it's all forgiven.
It's all forgiven. I'll be like, whatever. You know, I'm still not a fan. I still wouldn't say he's the best coach ever. But hey, if we get a ring, I'm not going to complain.
Nope, 100%. That's how you should operate.
Yeah.
Go out and prove that you are a good coach.
And we know he can. Mm-hmm. He's been to a Super Bowl twice. We know that if he puts like his all in, like, I feel like there's so many games where he's just not all in. He's just not there.
The complacency is what kills him.
He's very complacent, and obviously causes drama. Go back to when you were just pumping guys up. Like, you're a player's coach. Mm-hmm. Let's focus on that. Let other guys handle plays and designs and honestly timeouts and challenges.
Yeah, for real.
You don't need to be doing that. Just go pump up players.
Yeah, 100%. So that's what we have to look forward to. We have a lot of promise. We have people that know how to win. We got people who are hungry to win.
Yeah.
Very hungry to win. And we have a draft to kind of reinforce things that aren't quite there. They could be a complete team by the time the draft is over. It's just a matter of, okay, Con, what are you cooking up in the draft? I've loved Con's drafts for the most part. I mean, he's done very well. I don't think you can say that he hasn't done well.
No, I'm in love with Con. He drafts Drafts, amazing. I love his drafts. And like even like, the past off season, it was quieter. But every sign we made, I was like, I like that.
All those linebackers were a part of the free agent signings from last year.
I think he's done nothing but be great. And I love that because, honestly, that puts the pressure under Tomlin.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't blame it over a bad GM now. Like, it's
how many times do you have people that love their GM in any of the 4 major sports? Everybody hates their GMs.
Right.
But like, we love our GM.
Oh, he's the best. And so now it's like there are no excuses except for Tomlin or the new Rooney because of the, the facilities and everything like that, the grade. So it's like now we got this great GM. We need these other guys to be like step up and match his level.
Yep, 100%. He's putting a winning team together. He's giving them a chance to win. He's putting them in a position to win. That's all you can do. You put your players in a position to win and you expect them to go out and do it. And if they can, awesome. And if they can't, then you move on and you try to figure out something else. But I mean, like we said, Khan is doing his job. Yeah. Now it's everybody else's turn to do their job.
It is. They just need to deliver on the field, and our coaches just need to give them the best chance they have.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate you listening to the Boardman Black and Gold podcast. This episode has been a long time coming.
Oh, yeah.
I think we were just kind of waiting for everything to settle down a little bit because it all happened like the free agent stuff happened quickly. Russ happened quickly, and then all these trades just kept going. It's I'm glad we didn't record this episode 2 weeks ago because we wouldn't have had everything in there.
Right. It was nice. Like, we needed to just breathe. Like, it was like, oh my gosh. Like, every single time something happened, you were like, oh, no way.
Again?
Like, what?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
No. Like, it's just, so it was good to be able to think about everything and, all the hype, I'd say, is like past where it's like we're thinking logically and we're not just like, oh, we're going to the Super Bowl. It's like, okay,
let's think about this logically and let's think about this like under very calm hearts and calm minds. And we've done that. I think we've done that.
We have.
So we're putting ourselves in a good position for this draft that's coming up in a couple weeks. And hey, like we said, just reinforce everything. You've done a good job so far. Just keep doing well. Don't slide back into the mediocrity. Keep doing well. Do everything as best as you can and let the play on the field come September figure it all out.
Right. I completely agree.
Well, you can follow us at Boardman and Gold on Instagram. We'll be continuing to post stuff, especially as the draft time kind of comes up. Some draft stuff as well as the actual draft picks. We'll be excited to talk about that. And I think what we'll do is we'll probably have one more episode before the draft just so that we can talk about kind of our thoughts, maybe some players that we're looking at between the two of us, kind of look at the college football realm and just kind of see what's going on. And then we'll hit the draft and then we'll do a little post-draft analysis and recap. And hey, and then at that point, training camp's not too far away.
Hopefully the energy stays high and the picks that are made in the draft are just as good as what's happened this offseason.
Absolutely. Well, again, we are Zane and David. We appreciate you listening to us. Again, follow us at Boardman and Gold on Instagram, and we will see you next time after a Here We Go Steelers draft. Hopefully it's a good one.
Can't wait to see you next time.